Hello, Ground Passers, and welcome back to another episode of Ground Pass. This is a mini pod. If you're new to the podcast, outside of Grand Slam season or when I'm on site at a tournament, we have full episodes every 2 weeks and a mini pod every other week that we alternate between Nick and I. On this week's mini pod, we'll be hitting on 3 topics: the Asian swing, our new Substack series on tour with, and our upcoming birthday. Yes, Ground Pass is turning 2. Before we get into it, please remember to like and subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube, and please give us a rating and leave us a review if you're listening to this on a podcast player of your choice. It really helps others discover our podcast. And if you have a friend that's just getting into tennis, send them our way, and we will do our best to help them get the lay of the land without too much jargon. Let's get into it. Okay, so I have my notes here. Here is a quick rundown of what has been going on so far. We have got the ATP 500 level events in Beijing in China, and then in Tokyo in Japan. And then we've also got on the WTA side the 1000 level event there. I have also been watching a challenger and then a WTA 125, actually 2 challengers at a WTA 125. The challenger and WTA 125 is a mixed event in Jingshan. I'm really sorry if I said that wrong. I'm working on my pronunciations, I promise. But that is in China. And then also one in Orléans in France. I will leave text on screen if you're watching this on YouTube, because my pronunciation is awful, even though I practice it right before I push record on these podcasts. But yes, so that is what has been going on this past week. I obviously am in the not ideal time zone to watch all of the tennis. I'm pretty much of an early bird, so I'm up around sort of 5:30. And last week I was in Los Angeles, and then I came back to New York. So I had a bit of jet lag, so I've been going to sleep really late and then waking up really early. So funny enough, this week I have caught a bunch of tennis. I've been able to catch the beginning of the day session in Asia, and then I wake up and I'm wrapping up the night session in Asia as well, which has been great. And the challenger in Orléans in France is, it's the day session. Well, actually, it's the night session during my day, which is perfect. I love tennis when it's in Europe because it's how I start my day. I wake up, grab a cup of coffee, and European tennis is on. It's the perfect time zone for me. That's where I love to watch my tennis, which is always funny when then the tennis comes to the States and then it's starting at, 11 a.m. or noon. And I'm like, why is it so late? But yeah, so the tennis has been great. Let us start with the men because they're almost done. They're almost wrapped up. The finals have been set in Tokyo. It is a rematch of the Lever Cup. Carlos Alcaraz versus Taylor Fritz. We're ready. We are ready. And I think with this, it's going to be one of those massive talking points wherever the results land. If Taylor Fritz wins, then it all meant something. Then all of the tennis at the Lever Cup meant something. And then if Carlos Alcaraz wins, it's like, oh, Lever Cup means nothing. And I think it doesn't necessarily have to be that dramatic of a storyline, either or. I think all of those who are pro Lever Cup are going to be hoping Taylor Fritz wins, and all of those who are anti Lever Cup are going to be hoping Taylor Fritz loses, so that either one of those sort of they can justify their stances on the Laver Cup, which is not how it should be. Um, I hope it's a competitive match because I really was impressed by what Taylor Fritz did at the Laver Cup. He played such a different game, and I hope he can bring that style of play to Tokyo against Carlos Alcaraz. But who are we kidding? It's Carlos Alcaraz. He can turn it on. He's someone who learns very quickly and can adapt his game to different surfaces, different players. So it's going to be a tough match either way. So I'll be excited for that. That is going to be tomorrow morning, my time. You know, uh, basically, I think it's around two. No, actually, I think it's actually going to be 5 a.m. Eastern. So I might be actually able to wake up super early and watch it live. So that should be interesting. In Beijing, it's semifinals time. So the semifinals are going to be between Daniil Medvedev. Daniil Medvedev is in a semifinals, guys. He seems to have turned things around post crazy meltdown at the US Open. He's going to be playing against Lerner Tien, who is making it to his first 500 level semifinals. Really big move for him, even though he got there, because uh, he was playing against Lorenzo Musetti in the quarterfinals, and Lorenzo Musetti had to retire today, one of the many retirements today, which we will talk about later. But he retired from his match today. He was running for a drop shot, and it looked like he pulled something in his glute, and wasn't really able to move in that third set because they went to a third set there. And so, yeah, he had to retire. Lerner Tien gets to the semifinal. So we will see how Daniil Medvedev is doing. I think weirdly, I almost think this will be the test for Daniil Medvedev in this tournament to see if he's really turning a leaf. I think he had his meltdown at the US Open and he switched teams. He got rid of his old team, old coach. So he's a new Daniil Medvedev, new coach, new team. I think he actually has two coaches now, instead of just one. I wonder if they're both doing different things, like he's getting them for different reasons. That would be interesting to find out. He played against Alexander Zverev in the quarterfinals, but he has an incredible head-to-head against Alexander Zverev. I think it's now like 14-2 or something crazy like that. If I got that wrong, I'll put the correct thing on the screen. But yeah, so, I don't think that was, I don't think that result really says much because Daniil always beats Sasha. I think actually a real test will be Lerner Tien. The other semifinal I had that open is going to be it's going to be Yannick Sinner against Alex de Minaur. Another very, very lopsided head-to-head. In fact, I'm pretty sure Alex de Minaur has never beaten Yannick Sinner. I'm going to look it up right now. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you are watching me type this live into Google and look up the head-to-head. But I remember they played against each other at the Australian Open this year, and boy, oh boy, was it Yannick Sinner. Let's see. I'm typing this up right now. This is live. This is great podcasting for anyone. I think this is even worse for everyone listening, so I apologize. I should have had this up, but oh my goodness. The head-to-head between Yannick Sinner and Alex de Minaur is 10 to love. That's 0. So yeah, Yannick Sinner dominates that head-to-head, and it's pretty brutal. Every single time they play, it is just an awful matchup, and it's always an awful watch. And you hope every single time that Alex de Minaur has figured it out, and we will see. We will see if he has somehow figured it out this time. I hope so, but I'm not sure. I am not sure he would have figured it out this time around. So we will see what the outcome is. I have a feeling Sinner has got that one in the bag. Um, so yeah, that is really the men's side of it in Tokyo and Beijing. On to the women's side. The women are in a 2 week 1000 level event right now. So they still have a week of a tournament left to go. So I would say right now they're kind of in the halfway mark for them in Beijing right now. A couple of notable things that have happened. Emma Raducanu came in, she didn't participate in Billie Jean King Cup because she wanted, funny enough, I think this came from her coach. Her coach wanted some time with her to do some training. So she skipped Billie Jean King Cup. She came against, and she's been playing well so far this tournament, but she came against Jessica Pegula today. And the first two sets were awesome. She was playing awesome. And she got the second set, went to a tiebreak, very tight tiebreak. She lost the tiebreak 11-9, and then just went away and lost the third set 6-love. And I think this is the thing right now about Emma Raducanu. She's consistent. She's playing all the time now, because before, I think her main thing was she wasn't playing consistently on tour. Like, her schedule was really weird. But now she's actually playing consistently on tour. She's playing very well. But she just doesn't have that mental grit thing yet. Like, she can fight. She fights sometimes, but I feel like she kind of goes away a lot of times. Like, this exact same thing actually happened in the tournament before, where it was against Barbora Krejcikova. Again, she won the first set. Second set, she had match point. She didn't get the second set. She went away in the third. Exactly what happened in this match again against Jessica Pegula. So interesting to see what happens in the next tournament. The WTA has another 1000 level event after this. So we will see how that goes. Coco Gauff is back. So far, she has been playing really well. She just played against Leylah Fernandez, who pushed her to 3 sets. This was the one match she's played so far since she's back that her forehand and serve kind of was doing its weird thing again. I am behind on making a video. We got a request on YouTube, actually. It was a YouTube comment who asked us to break down this kind of history of Coco Gauff, like her coaching history and why she changed coaches, and kind of the history between like her grip coach to now her serve coach. And we were going to do a whole kind of history of Coco Gauff and her coaches. I will do it. It'll either be out today or tomorrow. We will see when it'll be out, but just to give people an idea of what her history is and what she's trying to work on. But she's still in the tournament. And Eva Lise, lucky loser premier. She's like the lucky loser. I always say she had such a story of her, like at the Australian Open, of being a lucky loser and getting to the 4th round, I think. And she's having quite a season. She beat Elena Rybakina to get to the 4th round here. So she's doing pretty well herself at this tournament. Otherwise, it's a 1000 level event. It hasn't really gotten into the meat yet quarterfinal rounds and all that. We will talk about it during our next full episode when Nick is back. Couple of things I want to talk about before I get into the challengers as well that we've been watching. Just in general about the tournament in China, 2 things specifically. The first, these tennis players, they just keep stepping in it. Specifically, in our last episode, we talked about Taylor Townsend and her comments on Chinese food and her apology and all of that stuff. So I feel like we also then need to talk now about Lorenzo Musetti and his comments. He was playing a match I think it was a couple of days ago, and he made some comments about the Chinese audience, and they were coughing, and it was basically some really crass comments about, and he was imitating their cough, and it just was so unnecessary. And just, I cannot understand why. And this always happens in Asia. For some reason, always in Asia, when these tennis players go to Asia, they cannot, it's like they lose all sense of education or couth, or I don't even know what to say. It's, and I was talking to someone about this actually, because I don't understand how it is where when you travel to different countries around the world, as part of your job, how sometimes you just are not able to kind of, absorb the culture and understand different cultures and things like that. And I know, I'm like, Anastasia, like it's a little bit of I think I'm thinking of an ideal world that really doesn't exist, but it is just so fascinating and weird how these tennis players always seem to step in it when they, you know, get to the Asian swing. But unfortunately this happened, like for example today, when he retired, he got booed off court. He apologized right away, actually, like right as it happened. He apologized, I think that same day or something like that. But you're just sort of like, even if it's done in the heat of the moment or anger, it's just like, why is that the place you go to just be cruel and demeaning of other people? So yeah, that's one thing I want to say. On the happier good side, on the happier good side, I was going to mention the Chinese fans are truly the best fans. They are the most creative and just awesome fans. And I've been like just following their escapades, as I would say, on social media, and kind of like the nicknames they have for the players are just epic. And a lot of the players are getting into it, which is what I love to see. One of them being Jessica Pegula. She actually even signed, so like at the end of the match, the winners usually sign the camera lens. They sign it something. There's the whole thing about Carlos Alcaraz, who's like, he never knows what to sign. I also think that that's a little bit of a he's in on the joke kind of thing, because Carlos Alcaraz, how can you always never know what to sign? But anyway, that's beside the point. But Jessica Pegula, the Chinese fans have nicknamed her Big Rich, because they've also nicknamed Emma Navarro Little Rich, which is just the best thing ever. So I think it was after she won her very first match, she signed the lens Big Rich, which I was just like, that is perfect. They also have like other nicknames, like they nicknamed they so the before the tournament, the China Open, they did a player party where everyone dressed up, everyone take photos. And by the way, this party, see, like the best player party kind of photo shoot, red carpet that I've seen come out of a tournament. It's been great. But basically, all the players have this photo shoot, and it's against white. Like there were different angles. Like it was really great. I'll put a photo here, and I'll put a link in the bio, sorry, in the description of this podcast. So those who are just listening, you can see what I am talking about too. I will put a link in there. But the Chinese fans, based on these photos, gave all of the players nicknames. And some of them are like, they nicknamed Naomi Osaka Sephora sales assistant. And let me tell you, when you see the photo that they named Naomi Osaka Sephora sales assistant, you'll get it. Because yes, she is a Sephora sales assistant. If you've seen a Sephora sales assistant, especially in New York, it tracks. It definitely tracks. They Sriontek, is a public speaker, and it tracks. Like, all of these nicknames are so perfect. All of them. Medvedev is a programmer? Definitely. He works for Microsoft. All I'm saying is that it all tracks. I will leave a link to all of this because you have to see it. But the Chinese fans have been hilarious, and they have been such a joy to just follow on social media, and just their antics have been great. Coco Gauff like always posts all the gifts she gets, like literally every practice after every match, and it's just like at least 6 stuffed like toys. And I'm just like, how are you going to bring all of those back home, girl? She must have an extra suitcase. Must have an extra suitcase. Finally, what else? The challengers that have been happening. I will start with Orléans in France. It was won by Martin Landeluth, who is a Spanish player. And the reason I bring this up is just before the tournament, he shaved his head, a la Carlos Alcaraz. And I don't know if he was pulling a Carlos Alcaraz, like, hey, Carlos Alcaraz shaved his head, but Martin shaved his head. He's also a Spanish player, and guess what? He won the tournament. So I don't know if this is going to be now a Spanish thing. Spanish player shaves his head, wins the tournament, but that might be a thing. That might just become a thing. Then there was the Jingshan Challenger, which is in China. On the women's side, it was won by Lulu Sun. She is from New Zealand. You might remember her from a couple of years ago where she made a big run at Wimbledon. She beat Alex Ayala. Alex Ayala was also playing in this challenger. She beat her in the semifinals, and then she went on to win the tournament, which was great. And finally, but not the least, Elliot Spizzirri finally breaks his semi-final thing and gets to a final finally, and wins the tournament. If you don't know, basically, Elliot Spizzirri won the San Diego Challenger earlier this year in March. And ever since, he's been getting to a lot of semifinals. He has gotten to a lot of semifinals, but just could not get past that level since then. And now finally got past the semifinal level, got to the finals, and won the tournament. But this coincidentally, or is it coincidence? Is it coincidence? Coincidentally happened to happen the very same week we released Elliot Spizzirri's Meet the Player episode. Yes, that's right. We interviewed Elliot Spizzirri at the Newport Challenger earlier this summer. We are so backlogged. You do not even know how many more episodes, videos, things that we have coming. Don't you worry. You will not be there will be so much content for you to watch this off season. Don't worry about it. But we're so backlogged, but we finally released his episode from the Newport Challenger. Great conversation with Elliot Spizzirri. If you haven't watched or listened to it yet, I will leave a link in the description of this podcast so you can catch up on it. And released it this week. He's in the Challenger this week. He wins the title. I'm calling it the ground pass effect. Why? Because this is not the only time it's happened. Same thing happened with Victoria Mumboku. We interviewed with Victoria Mumboku in Washington, D.C., put out our interview. What does she do? She goes on and she wins Montreal. Was it Toronto? I can't remember what Canadian city now it is. I'm totally lost. But again, I'm kind of saying it's a ground pass thing, but it's a ground pass effect. It's happened more than once. We interviewed Katie McNally at Newport Open. We posted that one actually sooner. She got to the final of the Newport Challenger. Ground pass effect. Hashtag ground pass effect. But yeah, it's really, really great. And the funny thing about that actually is in that interview, So we were talking to him in Newport, and we were talking about an event. Well, not an event. Um, I had been at Indian Wells earlier this year, and I had seen that Elliot had won the San Diego Challenger, and I was going to ask to interview him because he was coming to Indian Wells to get, to play qualies right after. But unfortunately, he lost in the first round. But the turnaround was so quick. He literally won San Diego, drove through the night through a snowstorm, listened to the interview. It's hilarious, and play the next day. He won the match the next day, but he was just shot and then he couldn't win the next match. He's doing the same thing in China right now. I talked to him right after he won the challenger and I was like, "Oh, we need to jump on and I need to interview you." And he was like, "Actually, I'm getting on a plane to go to Shanghai to play qualies for the Shanghai Masters the next day." The tennis schedule is crazy, guys. It is really, really crazy. Um, why I was going to interview him, though, is for our new Substack series. So let's talk about that next. So we talked about this a little bit in last week's episode, but we do have a new Substack series called On Tour With, where we follow along a player going through the Asian swing for the first time, maybe second time. And it started with Ethan Quinn. He was in Chengdu when we talked to him during last week's episode. I think we previewed it a little bit there. And then in between now and then, he's been in Tokyo. He won a match against Alex Mickelson in Tokyo. We released that episode on Substack. Again, I'll link it below so you can catch up on that. And he is off to Shanghai now. He's going to be in the main draw in Shanghai. I will catch up with him there, interview him there, and release that episode sometime soon. But before I release that episode, a new bombshell has entered the chat. That's for all you Love Island people and also for Coco Golf. But a new bombshell has entered the chat. I definitely wanted to add more players to this, but again, all the players in China, like I was saying, the tennis schedule is so packed, and trying to get these players, even to get like 10, 15 minutes with them is pretty tough. Elliot Spizzirri is one of the players I'm trying to get for On Tour With, but again, it is really packed. So we're going to wait after he's done with qualies to see if we can just get a few minutes with him. But I was able to talk to Hailey Baptiste. Hailey Baptiste, you might know her, local of Washington, D.C. And she did really well during the clay season this year. She's definitely a player on the rise. She broke into the top 50 this year and is kind of fluctuating in that sort of ranking. And this is her second Asian swing. So last year she went to the Asian swing for the first time. This is her second Asian swing. She was in Beijing. She lost first round, and I got to catch up with her and talk to her about what do you do when you lose first round of a 2-week event and the next event is not for another 2 weeks. I will leave a clip here of what you do. Because a week is a long time before like your next tournament.
Yeah, no, it's so basically I was gonna play the tournament in Suzhou, I think it's called, which would have started on Monday, but if I were to make it past the quarters in that tournament, I would be pulled out of Wuhan because I'm in qualis in Wuhan as of right now. So it was a risk to play a 125 and be pulled out of a 1,000. I just didn't really fully make sense. So I just decided to stay here and practice until the next 1,000.
So to hear the full interview with Hailey Baptiste, subscribe to our Substack. It is free to subscribe and listen to. That interview will be out on Wednesday with Hailey Baptiste. It was great catching up with her in Shanghai. She has a few more tournaments in Asia before the end of the season, so we might be catching up with her again later as well before the season is over. So subscribe for that. Subscribe if we can possibly get Eliot Spizzirri as well before his season is over. And you might never know, might be able to sneak in another player in there as well. Again, subscribe to our Substack. That's where all the good stuff with On Tour With will be at. Finally, to wrap up this little mini pod. It's our birthday. I know. It is Ground Pass's birthday, and we are going to be doing some special stuff. Technically, Ground Pass's birthday, which is basically the very first episode we ever released, was October 4th of 2023. That's right. You can go back in the archives. That's when our very first episode, I think it was called Testing. Yeah, it was called Testing, and it was released October 4th of 2023. So that's when we were born. So we're turning 2 very, very soon, and we're going to have a few things coming up. So stay tuned to our social media. In terms of the tennis, before I jump right into that, in terms of the tennis, let me just look at my notes here. The Asian swing is going to keep on going. Beijing and Tokyo will be wrapping up, so we'll know basically who the winners are. We'll talk about all of that in next week's long episode. Also, the WTA event will actually be over on that Sunday, so hopefully we'll have a winner or at least know who the finalists are, so we can talk about that as well. And the ATP 1000 level event in Shanghai would have started already. The main draw starts on Wednesday, this Wednesday. Qualifying has already started. Eliot Spizzirri is through the first round of qualifying. He is into the second round where he's going to be playing Nicholas Basaksehir. And that is a very tough second round in qualifying. So we're wishing him all the luck in that. So that is what is happening next week, or this week, basically, in terms of the tennis. For our birthday, though, which is more important, we'll be having a few things coming up. We will be doing some stuff on social media. We might have some special reels and videos and stuff. So just stay there, keep an eye on our Instagram and our TikTok. Our merch shop will be having a special discount. We're probably going to bring back the founder's discount for one day and one day only. And that will probably be on our birthday. So stay tuned for that. Also, most importantly, we're going to have an extra podcast. We're going to have an extra podcast that we're going to record on our birthday, Nick and I, on October 4th, and we will release it on October 4th. So basically this week you're getting 3 podcasts from us. I mean, this week you're getting 2, Sunday's a new week. Sunday's a new week, so that's a different one. But you're getting 2 podcasts from us this week. So to celebrate our birthday, new podcast. Basically what we're going to be talking about is Ground Pass. So we're going to be talking about what Ground Pass is, who we are, how did Nick and I meet, how did we start, why did we start Ground Pass, where do we see it going, what ambitions do we have for Ground Pass, all of those cool things. And yeah, so we'll just give you all of those little insights into Ground Pass and our hopes and dreams, because we all have hopes and dreams, right? But we also want to incorporate all of our lovely listeners and viewers on YouTube as well. So to participate, here is how you can participate in this podcast episode. You can send us a question via email, leave us a comment in this YouTube video, leave us a comment on a podcast platform on this episode. I think in Spotify, you can kind of do that. Apple it's different, but still, if you leave a comment and you just like, you know, sort of do Q&A or whatever, it'll come through and I will check all of the comments. Leave us a 5-star review and I will definitely add it to our Q&A. You can email us. You can also email us a voice note because we love voice notes. By the way, one of the special things we're going to do is a voice note special episode for all the people who sent us voice notes over the years. I'm sorry, that's really loud. But yes, you can send us a voice note. That would be great. And we will play it during the episode. So email, DM, however you like to send us a question would be great. The deadline, though, the deadline to send us a question is going to be Friday, October 3rd, 10 p.m. Eastern Time. Again, Friday, October 3rd, 10 p.m. Eastern. That is the deadline. I'm just putting a deadline so that I can just sort of like make sure I get all of the questions together and I don't miss anything, since I'll be editing all of it together and stuff like that. So yeah. Okay, that's great. This was your mini pod for this week. Thank you for joining me for this mini pod. Again, if you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. If you're listening to this on a podcast player of your choice, please give us a 5-star review and leave us a comment. Leave us a question. What would you like to know about Grand Pass? What would you like to know about Anastasia? What would you like to know about Nick? Leave us a comment. We will answer you. Otherwise, we will see you on Saturday with a new episode. Bye, guys.